Hello, we are live. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. Tonight, I have a lady who's been on several times. She does a lot in the fishing industry. She's a female um, bass tournament angler, East Texas Lady Anglers. She also runs Real Girls Fish. Boy, I flubbed that one already. And if I get one thing right all day, I want to get her name right. Denise Sustaita. Did I get that right, Denise?
You did. You did a great job.
Thank you. Anyways, without further ado, I give you Denise. So how is your tournament season going?
It's been a great season. East Texas Lady Anglers, we're in our third year. We just wrapped up this past weekend our regular season tournament down at Toledo Bend. I came in third on that tournament, and we calculated all of the points after the tournament was over to get our top five, because our top five go to the championship, which is going to be in September at Lake Palestine. And so we got all of the top five names gathered up, and our AOY figured out, and looking forward to the championship. But it's been a great year.
So you qualified.
I did. I actually came in second for the season, and the way that happened is kind of a funny story. So Pam Ridgel and I were actually, after all of the tournaments were calculated and the points were calculated, Pam Ridgel and I actually tied for Angler of the Year. Yes. So we both had, we had 4 tournaments, and you drop one. And so by the time it was all said and done, we both won 2 tournaments out of the season. And so our points were exactly the same. So the rules say that you have to go to the biggest sack out of the whole season. And Pam beat me by 0.08 ounces. To break the tiebreaker. So congrats to Pam. Hey, she did it, and we both had a great year. So
0.08 of an ounce.
Yep. So you know what? Just that little bit of water, one fish through the whole year, just anything, would have made that little bit of difference. But it is what it is. And you know what? I'm very proud of her, and proud of myself, because Pam's been fishing for a long time. She's a local Texas girl as well. And, she is a hammer. She's a really good angler. And so to be neck and neck with Pam Ridgel, hey, I'm proud of that. So,
well, how'd you do in the Angler of the Year then?
Say that again.
How did you do in Angler of the Year then?
Well, I came in second. So yeah. So she, she came in first, and and so I came in second
for the championship.
And the top 5 go to the championship, and so I definitely made that. We'll have our banquet, we'll have our tournament, and we will award all the end of the year awards at the banquet. So lots of fun.
So you only have 5 people competing in the championship, or how does that work?
It's top 5. Top 5 boaters, top 5 co-anglers come to the championship. That is correct. Yep. And something else that's exciting that a lot of people may not know is, so we are a federation of the LBAA, the National Trail. And so the Angler of the Year qualifies to go fish the championship for the LBAA. So, so if she hasn't already qualified, then she will go and fish the championship at Kentucky Lake. For the LBAA as well. And all of the federations, there's several federations now, WBT, us, there's the Two Chicks in a Boat, there's the Indiana Bass Trail, all of those, I call them kind of regional trails, are federations of LBAA. So their top Angler of the Year will go fish the championship.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Kentucky Lake, that can be difficult.
Kentucky Lake, yeah, I've been there multiple times. It's a challenging lake for me. Most people, fish it. It's a deep lake. It's used to be really big on ledges. Yeah. Yeah.
Ledges. The only way
Exactly
I could
right.
catch fish there when I went there, gosh, probably 20 years ago, was with a husky jerk, suspending jerk bait,
Yep.
and just reel it down and just let it sit.
Yeah.
Twitch, let it sit. And man, I am too attention deficit to be able to do that.
Well, I'll tell you, speaking of fishing deep, so this past weekend, we had our last tournament at Toledo Bend, and it was hot. It would, let me tell you, when I tell you it was
Oh
hot,
yeah.
it was triple digit hot as
Yep.
far as the feels like temperature. And it was brutal. I also am mending a torn muscle in my calf, so running a trolling motor for 9 hours was no fun. But anyway, you had to find deep water. At this time of the year, it's end of June in Texas. It's not fun. I mean, fishing's always fun, but it gets brutal out there, and you really have to be careful and be cautious and make sure you're hydrating and all the safety things when it comes to that unbearable heat. Keeping fish alive, all the things that you have to do. But I, typically most people, when I'm on these podcasts or these interviews, people will always ask me, what is your favorite style of fishing? And typically I like to fish between 15 and 0 to 15. I'll just put it that way. Anything past that, it's just not my comfort zone. I love to throw a Texas rig. I love to, wacky rig. I love to do those things. But last week, I had to do something different. And, I was able to catch fish throughout the day. But I had to go deeper. And so last weekend I was paired, Rhonda Pitts was my co-angler. And
cool. Nice.
Yeah, we had a great time.
You did.
Yeah, and so I started catching some fish on a jig early in the day, and I still threw the typical things that I like to throw, but it just seemed like the jig was working, and so I continue to do that. And most all my fish that day, which is not normal for me, came off of a jig. I'm usually catching them on a worm, whether it's a
in the middle of summer. Were you using a smaller jig, like an 1/8 ounce?
Yes, I was using more of a swim jig style, and use and kind of, it depends on where I was at. I mean, some places, if I was on a point, or if I was on deeper water, or if I was in a bridge, or those areas, the presentation that I would do, I'd do a little bit differently depending where I was. But I mean. But it worked, and I was able to catch fish all day long, and I didn't catch a ton of fish, but y'all, everybody knows that when you're catching fish on a jig, you usually catch better fish. But it just seemed to be what was working for me, and that's what I decided to stick with. But yeah, I'm usually that.
So deep water, hot water, middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And you're using a swim jig where you just barely crawling it?
Slow. It seemed like you had to just really be, just really slow. And yes, just kind of working it. And then working it kind of like I would just drag it really, especially if I was in some areas where rocks, some of the bridges. Yeah, you'd feel it, pick it up. And when it was on, it was on. But, I missed a really good one early in the morning on a crankbait, and I was fishing a points in the morning, and it come out of the water and spit my crankbait, and it made me sick. It was at least 4 or 5 pounds. It was
crankbaits, man.
Yeah, I know. It made me sick, and I went back to try to, I let it rest and came back and try to pick it up, but I never could. But
I've done everything right, got a glass rod, didn't really set the hook, just kind of, still it jump, and that's why, I first started doing this, and tournament anglers say, yeah, I got a good jump out of them. I'm like, yeah, that was cool. No, that wasn't cool. My heart stopped. I've lost so many fish when they jump crankbaits. I have a harder time keeping fish penned with a jig. And you think with
Really?
one great big hook, that fish is in my live well. No, not always. I don't know why. I just no good at. I have
Yeah.
never been any good at. I've caught some 5-6 pounders on jigs, but they're few and far between. And I try to use them. I go out with guys who really know how to jig.
Right.
Show me how to do this, dude. It's like, oh, dude, if you know how to Texas rig, you know how to jig. Same thing. I said, well, it must be a confidence thing.
Yeah.
I just don't have any
I mean,
confidence in them. And, and he's right,
yeah, confidence is
Hot water,
90%
I like
of it for sure.
a small beaver tail with a quarter or even an eighth ounce weight and a smaller hook for hot water. I catch a lot of fish doing that. And that's only when
Yeah.
I'm not wacky rigging.
Yeah. Oh, I love to. And that's another thing.
Love my
Speaking of
wacky
Pam
rigs.
Ridgel, Pam Ridgel is known for wacky. And, I never used to throw it as much as I do now. I throw it a lot more now. It was something I did not have confidence in, but about a year or two ago, I started throwing it a lot more, and I catch more fish on it now. And yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm probably throwing just as much as a Texas rig now. So.
Wow. So weightless wacky rigs?
No, I have weight on mine. I very rarely throw them
Do
weightless.
you?
Mm-hmm. A lightweight, a very
Wow.
lightweight, but yeah.
No, I don't like to put any weight on them because I think most bass presentations, top of the water, bottom. And even when you're throwing a crankbait, it goes like this.
Right.
But when you're throwing a weightless wacky rig, it goes.
Yeah.
I just love that. And also I've caught so many thousands of bass, because I was a guide for 17 years. And most of my customers wanted me to fish with them because they wanted to see how I fished.
Yeah.
Most of the guys were rich guys coming out of Chicago. They didn't have time to go out 4 or 5 times a week like I did. And they just wanted to learn. Sometimes they brought their sons. Most of the time they came by themselves. And and I fished almost every night. And on the weekends, sometimes it was from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. I'd have 2 guide trips.
Wow.
Just
That's a busy day.
Well, when you're divorced to paying $1,000 a month for child support, you got to do something.
Yeah.
But anyways, enough of my crap. But I love that. I love wacky. Well, what is your favorite wacky worm?
Well, I have been really throwing a crossbait a lot lately. And so crossbait, of course, Yamamoto is always one that I always threw in the past. And crossbait, Danny Cross is local here to the Rayburn area. And so, you started seeing them all over the place around here, and I started throwing them. And I tell you what, I have caught a ton of fish on the crossbaits. And, they've really gotten some popularity in the past couple of years. And Danny has also been very instrumental in coming to our East Texas Lady Angler meetings. And he brings baits for all the anglers. And he has been a big, sponsor and supporter, I should say, of us. And we really appreciate him, and he really has his baits have really come a long way in the past couple of years. And I tell you what, for due reason, they're fantastic baits. So I guess if I were to say today, my favorite bait on a Cinco is definitely but they're called Sickos. The cross baits are called Sickos instead of Cincos. So yes,
SICOs.
SICKO.
Okay.
And you can come in a 5 and a 6 inch. Of course, all the colors, but fantastic baits. And it's not just Sickos. He's got, other creature baits and, the curly tail, worms and, all the things.
My favorite is the 48. It's a little bit different. little bit different than most of your. I don't think I have one here anymore. I used to have. Yeah, I use those. I gotta go and buy some more 48s. But it's made by Missile Baits. It's just a little bit different
Yeah.
in your tradition. And it's 4.8 inches long. That's why it's called the 48.
Okay.
But something. Thumpum Soft Plastics. Speaking of local things, Thumpum sent me a gift bag, and this is back in the day. This is what I caught bass on.
Oh yeah.
If this thing was 8 or 10 inches long, I would Carolina rig it.
Absolutely.
Places like you fish, deep points,
Yep.
just barely move it.
Yep. Just drag that bottom real slow. Absolutely.
That's a lot easier to do now with forward-facing sonar, because it used to just be spitting in the dark,
Yeah.
But these curly tails, I got away from them when I got obsessed with wacky rigging, like we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if you get some lightweight tackle and a smaller hook and an 1/8 ounce weight on the front of that, and Texas rig that, I would just barely move this thing. I would,
Sure.
And if you see, with a long ribbon like that, you don't have to move it much, and that thing's going to give you incredible.
Sure.
This is Thumpum Soft Plastics Thump M. They were good
That's
enough to send me that. He's a company out of Northeast Michigan, Port Huron. Port Huron is right where Lake Erie empties into the the St. Clair River, and the St. Clair River enters into Lake St. Clair. Lake St. Clair is one of the best smallmouth bass factories in the United States.
Fine.
I know the boys from Texas argue with me about that. I put a lot of smallmouth, man. You can wear yourself out in the spring throwing a.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Yeah, that worm reminds me of, I used to throw, and same reason, because I started throwing a Cinco and I kind of got away from them, but that worm reminds me of like the Mag 2 or the Old Monster. One of my best fish ever caught and I was in a tournament, was on an Old Monster, and that
the monster worms.
Yeah, the Old Monster, and then the
was it 12 inches long?
No, it wasn't that big. Probably an 8 or 10. But and then the magworm, that one, kind of resembled a little bit the magworm with that tail. But I did get away from them for the same reason. We're creatures of habit. You start using something else, and you start throwing that, and that's all you throw. But I'm sure we'll see a lot of new products in a couple of weeks at ICAST. So,
I can't wait to hear what you see at ICAST. That is such a fun.
Excited.
Oh my gosh! My first really big bass I caught by myself. I bought my first good boat, and I was out on my favorite lake. I wasn't even guiding yet. I just went there on an early spring. Just first hot day up north, so the bass were starting to come up the creek channels, and I this is days before you even had auto drive on the trolling motor, so you had to.
Yeah.
I had to throw out structure markers to mark the creek channel, and I was just going up and down for hours and not getting one bite. And finally, I had a bite, and I let him take it because I was using a Carolina rig, and I set the hook, and I'm like, "This isn't a snag." Oh my God, I got one. I'm sure you've had those days where you've just gone so long without a bite, and finally I'm snagged. Oh my God, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not. How big was it?
Be careful. It was just a hair over 6.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
I took that into the bait shop, and I was shaking, and I started outdoor writing, and I'm just starting to get to know this guy, and he's like, "Please bring." I call him on my cell phone. I got a big one. He's like, "Bring it in, Jay. Bring it in."
Breathe, Jay. Breathe.
He came running down I was about 25 years old at the time.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to get excited than when you're 57. He came running down to the boat docks and with his camera, and we took pictures, and
That's awesome. That's what it's all about right there. That is what
Yeah,
it's all about.
I caught
So
one fish and came home and told my girlfriend, I caught one fish. And she said, what are you so happy about? You should have seen the.
if you know, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, man. I've driven 3 hours to go to the coast and caught one great big redfish,
Oh
or
yeah,
even a big trout is even more special.
absolutely. Yeah, those are
I'm
some
good.
fun times.
I
I grew up trout
could
fishing
drive
down in Houston,
100
so
miles home now. Well, you know that. You're in Texas.
yep. Reds, speckled
I thought I
trouts,
was going
that's what I
to
grew up doing.
lose you there.
I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your storm is just moving into my area now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we
The
got it
storm that
really
you just
hard a
had.
few minutes ago, but it's starting to slow down, I think, now. So
Well, you pushed it over here.
I didn't mean to. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sure
but
you said good riddance.
no, right? Yeah, I know we were talking about iCast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of the ladies. We always have a women's social one evening, and so that's always a good time to get together with all of the ladies, lady anglers around the nation, and spend some time and visit with one another and talk about the industry. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. I know you've had the fashionistas ladies on in the past, and
Oh yeah, great people, great people. Is Secret York going to be there?
I don't know if she's coming to ICAST. I don't know if she has come. I don't think she was there the past 2 years that I've been. But she's her home lake is Kentucky Lake,
Oh yeah.
and that's where, like I said, the LBAA championship is, and so. But yeah, that's what's No. I'm sorry. There is one more for LBAA, and that's Grand Lake. Actually, that is
Ooh, Grand Lake
yeah,
of the
that is
Cherokees.
uh-huh. That is coming up. End of July, I want to say. So I think it's like the week
Ooh,
after iCast. So
end of July in
I
Oklahoma.
know. I know.
There's no wind in
So
Oklahoma, man, except during hurricanes. No, not hurricanes, tornadoes.
the tornadoes, right.
They
Right.
don't have
Yeah.
hurricanes. I have hurricanes.
Yeah. Yeah. We have hurricanes
Yeah, you have hurricanes too.
down
I
here
didn't
on
know
the
if you were.
coast.
Oh yeah, you're not too terrible. What are you, about 100 miles from the coast?
Um, Maybe a little bit more, but not much. So
I'm
yeah.
I'm 80. I'm 83 from the closest
Oh yeah.
point.
I'm about double that, but still, I mean, they make their way up for sure. So,
Oh yeah, Ida did a number on us. I mean, our bass population was decimated by Hurricane Ida, and it still just has not rebounded.
wow.
And we're working so hard to actually we raised about 50 grand to put money in there, and there's a FLW angler who also does that. His organization called Every Fish Counts.
Oh, yes.
Ours is called Responsible Anglers United because we're also promoting responsible fishing. You
Sure.
know, take the 16 inches if you got to eat bass. Don't take the 4 pounders, please.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I,
Texas, have you ever Jay, have you ever been to the oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. In Athens, here between it's not far from Lake Fork. It's in between Rayburn and Lake Fork. It is the Texas Parks and Wildlife. It's where all of our share. It's where the ShareLunka program is.
no, I've never been there, but I have interviewed Natalie from the Share Lunker program. I don't know if
Yes.
she's still the executive director, but she was back then when I was working with Brad Yole from Bassin Magazine. We had we had Natalie on. I've been meaning to get her on again because I just think that you guys are blessed with a government that cares about bass fishing. And I have told people from the LDWF, if you build it, they will come. Just look at Bussy Break. There are hotels being built around Bussy Break because of the bass fishermen.
Yeah. So,
This entire
so it
state-
was shut down for, I don't know if it was a complete year, but at least 6 months, I would say. And they just did a major renovation, and the grand opening, I want to say, is July 1st.
Wow.
Or maybe it's July 4th weekend. I know it's coming up, but when you mentioned, bigger bass and things like that, that facility is so awesome. And if I encourage anyone that's ever been, that's never been and in the area to go check it out, because you learn a lot, and it's just a great program.
13.5 pounds for them, and if they can verify that it's a 13.5 pound or better, they will dispatch somebody immediately to drive through the night to grab it and to take it back, to put it in their big aerated trucks and bring it back and put it in their facility. Then that is just innovative. That is extraordinary.
Yeah.
I don't have words, Denise.
I know. It's pretty awesome. And in fact, they actually changed it a couple of years ago. They have different levels now, or tiers, however you want to put it. But there's like a 8 to 10, 10 to 12, and then 13 plus now. And so each tier or level gets you something different. You're in the legacy if you're in the 13 plus, and you get a replica and all of the things, but there are now 8 plus. So if you catch a 8+ pounder, you can still get, I don't remember what all of the things are, but yes. So
yeah, but what I was primarily keying in on in my interview was the ones that they're going to come and breed.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
They found out that every one of the fish that they've had at their facility over 13.5 pounds has been 100% Florida strain.
It's crazy because you can see the history on them. How many times they've been caught, the growth from this time frame to this time frame. And the DNA from if another one's caught, was it caught from was its parents a sharelunker? It's crazy.
Yes. There, in the state of Texas benefits from this as a whole.
Oh, for sure.
Because look at OH Ivy.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't find a parking space from what I've heard. Of course, also, Bussy Break in Louisiana, you can't find a parking space. There are people boxing people in. It's crazy. I have a friend who goes up there and he's retired, and he said, I have never fished there on any day other than Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And still you can't find a parking space.
Wow. Yeah. It's crazy. I have not been, but I keep saying I'm going to go. I really want to get over to OH Ivy. Just again, look at the sharelunkers that have been coming out of there. And every year the sharelunker program, they carry the fingerlings, and they go and they put them in they release them in some of the, different lakes. And it's just a great program all the way around.
I've got to have Natalie on again. Thank you for reminding me about that.
And right now is probably a really good time because of the excitement with the new facility, the whole renovated facility. I can't wait to get over there and see the updates. So, and in fact, that's actually a good point. Since our championship is going to be at Lake Palestine in September, maybe that might be a good idea for us to maybe do a tour of the facility, because the Lake Palestine is literally right there. So that might be a great. I'm going to write that down because that's a great idea, actually.
Denise, it's getting to be about 30 after the hour. I have to have shorter podcasts now so I can download the file to put it on the Facebook. So do you have any shout outs you'd like to do?
Well, I'll always have shout outs I'd like to do. So, we cannot do this without our sponsors and those who support us, and people like you for having us on, and, continuing to promote and support. And so thank you first and foremost, thank you for having me on and inviting me to be here tonight. But, we have those companies that have just supported us ladies through the years. And I always try to throw a big plug out to them because, we really, really appreciate them. And one that I've been a part of for over a decade is Livingston Lures. I throw their crankbaits and I absolutely love them. Their EBS, electronic bait technology. They are some phenomenal baits, and I absolutely love their product, and I absolutely love the people. They have supported all of the lady trails throughout the years. Jackson Hill Park and Marina, which is a local big marina here on Rayburn. They have been supporting East Texas Lady Anglers for the past since we started. And they are one of my sponsors this year, and I absolutely appreciate all that they do. It's a fantastic, facility with a restaurant and cabins and a great mid-lake location. And then, Real Graphics and Sport Threads. They have been supporting us ladies again for just years, and we just can't thank them enough. They do all of our banners, all of our signs, all of our decals, all of our shirts, all of our jerseys. They just do a great job. And so it's people like that. I mentioned Cross Baits, obviously our electronics, Minn Kota, Hummingbird, all of those bigger names that support us. We just truly, truly, truly appreciate them. And I'm sure I cannot forget iBass 360 and Sport Fishing Outlet, Rob Zorn.
Rob Zorn. Great person.
If he's on, hey Rob, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to seeing him. Let's see who I'm missing.
Fashionistas.
Fashionistas. Yes, I can't wait to see them as well. And then, somebody new that I just joined and became part of, and that's Ionic Lithium Hub. I turned into a lithium girl, and so I've had my lithium batteries for about, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months now, and I can't tell you how much I love them. Like,
and your back thanks you.
Yes, absolutely. The weight off the back of the boat, number one, the time that that I don't have to charge every night. Like, it's just amazing. And
just putting those things out of your boat and putting them on the side.
Oh, it's such a difference.
Drinking batteries weigh about 80 pounds.
Yes, such a difference. And so I encourage anybody that is thinking about going to lithium, because I thought about it for a long time, and no, they're not cheap, but let me tell you, they're worth it.
Well,
they are worth it.
They aren't cheap, but you get what you pay for, because they last longer. They're lighter. They don't make the mess. Well, I guess for the last 20 years, the batteries haven't made the mess they used to make. Remember when they used to get all that white crust all over them? Well, that doesn't happen anymore. But it's still, they've come a long way. You don't have to get petroleum jelly and wipe and.
Right. And I mentioned Pam Ridgel several times tonight, and Joey, her husband, and Pam, they own a company there in the Athens area where we mentioned the ShareLunker program. That is where they live, and they own Ridgel Septic, and they are one of our main sponsors for East Texas Lady Anglers this year. I tell you what, we truly appreciate them. And so I want to throw a big shout out to them as well, because again, without sponsors like that, we can't do it. We can't, we can't continue to put these tournaments on. And the ladies really, really appreciate everybody who supports us. So thank you. Real Girls Fish, which is my apparel line. And thank you for putting the website up there. We will be at Lake Fork at the Sealy Big Bass Splash in September. And there at ICAST, promoting, trying to do all we can to encourage women to get out and fish with us. So,
I completely support that. I think that. I think I'm very happy that women are getting into this. I don't even call it a sport. Fishing is my lifestyle.
Yes.
Yes. It's a lifestyle.
Jay, one thing I have to say is it's been really, really just awesome watching. I don't know exactly how many new anglers we got last year, and then how many new anglers we got this year with East Texas Lady Anglers, but it's just really awesome to see the new anglers come and fish with us and talk about how much they love having a place to go and fish with other like-minded women. And that's the whole purpose of doing this.
Yes. And just getting women out there and letting them enjoy this. It's,
That's right. That's right.
you know,
So I'm just trying to do my part. I'm so passionate about it. You know I am.
oh yes.
And always trying to promote and encourage more women to just get out and do it. So, yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me.
Because also, you said you can't do it without the support of people like me. Well, I can't do this show without the support of people like you.
Well,
We
really appreciate you.
And one thing I say at the end of every show is, guys, get out there, ladies, get out there and fish this weekend.
That's
I know
right.
it's 118 degrees down here in the deep south, like you and I live in. But
Bring lots of fluids.
yeah, get out there and
Bring lots of
enjoy the
fluids.
outdoors. Enjoy being out there. I fish all summer, all winter, and up north I fished all summer, all winter. In Alaska, I fished all summer, all winter when I lived up there. I don't care. I just want to get out there. I want to catch a fish.
Yes.
Make memories. That's what this is about.
That's exactly right.
I took my kids fishing from the time. In fact, that was brought up in court that I brought my kids out there when they were too young. The judge said, "Can we move along, please?"
Yeah, there's no such thing.
They had on life jackets. I was a certified licensed captain back then. And I said that to the judge, and he said, "Can we? I already dropped this. Are you going to?" Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Wow.
I was a licensed captain, but that's just, I wanted to get my kids out there and get them started young.
Sure. I'm going to talk about Pam Ridgel again and Alyssa Johnson. They're really good friends and really good anglers here in Texas. And they have grandbabies now that we see them on a regular taking their grandbabies fishing. And, I tell you what, those little 3-year-olds or however old they are, toddlers, they can probably cast better than some adults. It's crazy.
Well,
so,
my dad said
starting young.
He took me fishing the first time at the age of 4, and he said by 6 I was teaching him things.
Right? So, yes, absolutely.
I'm going to please stick around. I'm going to end the podcast now.
Okay.
And guys, yep, it's time to end the podcast. Okay, stick around, Denise. I'd like to talk to you after the podcast.
Okay.